All right, it is 5:30. We are going to resume the council meeting. City Clerk, may I have a roll call, please?
Yes, Mayor. Clark?
Present.
Dutra? Montesino?
Here.
Orozco?
Present.
Parker?
Here.
Salcido?
Here.
And Quiroz Carter.
Here.
We have quorum.
All right, we do not have any absent council members, so we're going to move on to item 5, the Pledge of Allegiance, and Mayor Pro Tem Orozco will be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we are moving on to item 6, information items. We have item 6A, report of disbursements.
Mayor, both of these are informational reports provided to the public in the agenda packet, so there's no action on these information items.
Thank you very much. So we'll be moving on to item 7, consent agenda. All items appearing on the consent agenda are recommended actions that are considered to be routine and will be acted upon as one motion. Any items removed will be considered immediately after the motion. The mayor, myself, will allow public input prior to the approval of consent agenda. At this time, I'm going to allow public comment only on our consent agenda. Do we have any public comment on the consent agenda? Please come forward to the podium and state your name.
I'm here tonight about item 7B, the resolution to reject a bid. We've been here before. June 2022, the digester mixer, one bid from a Livermore contractor, 50% higher than the engineer's estimate. November 2023, landfill phase 3, one bid from a Reading contractor, 76% higher. And today, water well number 4, one bid from an out-of-town contractor, 51% higher than the engineer's estimate. If the city had no choice but to accept these 3 bids, the city would be paying an extra $8 million, while at the same time not engaging a single local contractor. Work that needs to get done is not happening. The PLA is impeding the city and failing this community. The city it's become the norm, not the exception. The city has bid 21 projects with the PLA requirement. 10 of 21 had 2 or fewer bidders, 48%. 8 of 21 had no local bidders, 38%. The stats show that the city is having trouble attracting bidders, local and otherwise. My company is local, headquartered 14 miles from this building. We've successfully completed over 700 public works projects. Our workforce is local. Many come from the Watsonville community, more than from any other area. But for the PLA requirement, we would have bid on this project. It's the type of work we do. We would have been competitive. We asked the city to take item 7B off the consent agenda. We asked that the city instruct staff to rebid the project without the bid specification mandating a project labor agreement. Allowing fair and open competition will bring the cost of the project back in line. More importantly, the city will get local participation that it desires. This means more local jobs and more money being reinvested in the community. This is a simple request. It's your opportunity to do the right thing. Thank you. 1 second.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment on the consent agenda? All right, seeing none. Oh, go ahead. Yes, Councilmember Dutra.
Thank you. I have a few questions on a few of the items. I'd like to actually talk about 7B as well. Who can speak? Courtney? So I do have to reiterate my frustration with projects in the city of Watsonville not getting done. I know this is not you. You did not create the rules. We've had years of projects that have been sitting there that have been unable to be addressed because of this PLA that we're sitting in. Now that we're going to go back out to rebid, will this be open for all, or is there?
Can we have a motion before we have any other technical questions or pull an item? Or pull an item?
For
If
discussion?
somebody wants to pull the item procedurally?
Did you want to pull the item, Councilmember Dutra?
No, I just want discussion.
Okay, can we have a motion?
You don't need to make a motion before discussion. We've discussed before we made a
No,
motion.
we make motions, no, we haven't.
Erwin?
Yeah, we make motions.
We have the discussion.
I believe what Councilmember Parker's alluding to is a discussion on the motion. I do believe that prior to making a motion, you can ask some questions on consent agenda.
It's like any item.
Usually we pull
It's like any
that
item.
at
You
that
could have
time.
a discussion.
Sandy?
Jimmy, we pull it then, say for a further discussion, because you still have more.
I just making comments and discussing, so.
What I have seen done in the past is if a council member has some questions on the item for a staff member, the council member asks those questions. If the council would like to discuss the item, or if the council member would like to discuss the item with fellow council members, they pull the item. So if Councilmember Dutra has questions, I think that's generally, I've seen that done, and I think it's fine.
So that would be your characterization, Jimmy, of what you want to do.
You know, I'm just asking questions about this because the questions I ask will relate to how I may be voting. So,
But did
you
you
know.
want us to have that conversation, as she just said? If you want us.
No,
to have-
no, it's just me asking her
Okay,
for
so then it
myself.
shouldn't have any bearing on that. It's just your information. Okay, I just want to clarify it. Thank you.
Sorry. So you're saying that it won't go, when it goes back out, then it will go back with the same terms that it originally went out with the first time?
Correct. The PLA is still intact the way that it always has been. In order for us to go back out with the PLA or without, we would have to first reject this bid to then allow us to go back out. But we have not made any changes to the PLA at this point.
Okay, so what happens if, I mean, that was outlandish. I mean, I'm sure the rest of the council read their packages. When I saw that, 51%.
Yep.
Blew me away. I think the community would be very upset knowing that we would be paying $2 million more for a project that the engineer estimate was $4 million on.
Yep.
So how do we, I mean, are we just setting ourselves up again for this project not to be addressed?
That's to TBD, you know, what we did with the landfill, if you remember, we'd rejected that and went out to bid. We've been in negotiations with the unions and keeping these conversations open so they understand and know about our bids. And we were successful, as you could see, with rebidding the landfill. That's the next item. And so we're trying the same methodology with Well 4 to try to have the least amount of disruption as possible while getting our infrastructure projects done. Time will tell if the next bid for Well 4 is successful. We're having a lot of conversations with contractors that say they can do the work in the budgeted amount that we have listed in the previous bid. So I can't say whether the proposals will come in like that, but the
Yeah.
conversations are alluding that that is the case. So we're trying to use the same methodology that we did with the landfill because that proved to be successful with the
I
constraints that we have.
have questions on those next, so,
Okay.
but I just want to finish this one up. I just want you to, I mean, I want the public to know I do not support wasting our money like this. So if projects are going to be coming in at 51% over, and if we're continuing, what do they say, like, if you can't figure it out, like, burn me once, burn me twice, whatever that is, like, how many times do you need to be burned before you realize that we have to really alter the way we're approaching getting people to, bid on these projects?
And I think by doing this, it's just giving us data.
Councilmember Dutra, I'm sorry. It sounds like you want to have discussion on this. Would you like to pull this item? We've been spending a lot of time on this item, so I think it's,
Do you want to vote on the rest of the,
yes, we'll do that, but
okay, well, then I have a question on number two, the second one then. So, 7C, what was the engineer estimate for that? Because when I read the package, it wasn't in there.
8 million.
So it was for 8 million, and we're going to be paying 9.173?
Yes.
So we're paying 1.17, over $1 million more for a project than we should.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, and, estimates are estimates. They're not, on the penny. So it was more, but it's doable, and we're
Yeah.
happy with the results.
I think $1 million more is, okay, when can we have a discussion? I'm sorry.
When the motion is made, that's
Okay,
what
make
the
a
point
motion.
was.
I'm tired of being like, seriously, I want to have a discussion.
No one's doing anything to you.
No, but I want to have a discussion, and everyone is so
all
worried
right, can we
over
have a
here.
motion, please?
I'll make a motion. I'll make the
We
motion.
have a motion, do we have a second?
Second, I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay, can I now continue without people getting upset?
We need a vote.
At this
Okay,
point
so-
now, we have discussion on the motion.
Wait, so the motion was,
The motion was by Councilmember Montesino, seconded by Councilmember Parker, to approve the consent agenda. Is that?
That's ridiculous. How can I'm asking questions about this. This is like, what is the process then, you guys?
so,
So.
Perhaps this would help. What if
I
we-
think what the intent was, and so I just want to clarify the motion from Councilmember Montesino, that, let me just clarify, Councilmember Montesino, was the motion to approve the entire consent agenda?
Yes.
Except for certain items, or the entire consent agenda as is?
The entire,
And that was seconded by Councilmember Parker. So now we have discussion on the motion.
That was correct, because there was an opportunity to pull any of the items, and the mayor actually said that a couple times. So
Okay.
I'm unclear why there's unclearness.
Keeping my patience. Can I continue then?
Please do.
Thank you. Without any more interruption. So the engineer estimate for 7C was, we're going to be spending over $1 million more than what the estimate was for that project.
Correct.
And that is, from the city's view, okay, why?
We really want this project done, and there's typically wiggle room within an estimate of where you're okay. The three lowest bids all came in extremely close to each other, which makes us think that that's probably the actual price of the project. And, we were able to,
So you have a
Fund
wiggle
the
room of
rest
$1
of the
million?
project.
Whew. Okay. I mean, I just have a hard time. We're spending all this money that could be going into our community, into programs and other things that we're overspending on projects. So, I know a lot of people are, I'm not a puppet. I'm not going to sit up here and be okay with things that are going to be working against the city that I live in. So, I'm going to be voting no on this motion. It's unfortunate that it's going to be all of them because of the fact that we are spending millions of dollars of taxpayers' money on projects that aren't even, that are way over the estimate of those projects. So, so thank you.
Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember?
Thank you. I just have a couple, may I? Yeah. So we've had discussions, is that correct?
yes,
About how to ameliorate the issues that we're facing in today's new world of supply, demand, and money?
yep.
Yeah. And so far, we've moved forward. You've had those conversations in a positive way.
Yes.
And council has supported that, is that correct?
Correct?
Okay, and so we still have a ways to go to solve or change what's going on with process that may or may not include what Councilman Dutra is, referring to.
I mean, I agree. It is a process always. We're evolving. The cost of projects varies wildly given so many factors. And I understand a project to this scope, $1 million is kind of a small percentage of a massive project. And I understand the kind of sticker shock of that. Some of the information that we've showed you guys, the costs of disposal that we're currently taking right now, I mean, overall, this will be cost savings. But I understand the sting of something being, over what the engineer's estimate is. But again, it's an estimate. It's not a guarantee. And, we feel confident and honestly very excited that we're going to be able to get this project going and get our landfill back open.
Well, I just want to say, I really, especially from you, Courtney, I really appreciate the movement I'm seeing. And not a puppet either, teacher, city council person. And so very much appreciate it, but totally do take Councilman Dutra's words seriously.
Absolutely. $1
Because
million
it
is a lot
has
of
to
money.
do with the forward momentum that we have to get these projects done.
I think
and how
it's
to do
deeper
that.
rooted in the bigger conversation that we've been having, and we
Yes.
understand how complex it is, and, honoring both sides and everybody that has a stake in this game. I love it that people care. I respect that you guys are willing to, revisit it and let us go through the process as slow and as, daunting as
Yeah.
it can be. So thank you.
And thank you for answering our questions.
I have another comment. Thank you. I also wanted to give my support for Measure N. I fully support making sure that we have a hospital in our community. So thank you for having that on the agenda.
All right, do you have any more comments before I ask for a vote? All right. Can I have that vote, please?
Clark,
Aye.
Dutra,
No on 7B and 7C, yes on the rest of the agenda.
Montesino,
Yes.
Orozco,
Aye.
Parker,
Yes.
Salcido,
Yes.
Quiroz Carter.
Aye.
The motion carries.
All right, at this time, since we have no items removed from the agenda, we're going to move on to item 9, which is presentations and oral communications. This time is set aside for members of the general public to address the council on any item not on the council agenda, which is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. No action or discussion shall be taken on any item presented except that any council member may respond to statements made or questions asked, or may ask questions for clarification. All matters of an administrative nature will be referred to staff. All matters relating to council will be noted in the minutes and may be rescheduled for discussion at a future meeting or referred to staff for clarification and report. All right, before we begin, I would like to state that I will not be limiting time, individual time. Individual time will remain at 2 minutes. However, I will be capping public comment at 2 hours. We will not go over 2 hours for public comment tonight. I would ask that you please be respectful and refrain from clapping, cheering, jeering. I am a big fan of spoken word, so if you need to make some noise, I would suggest snapping. I also want to say that I will be working with the city clerk to put together a special meeting, and I will prepare a resolution, a ceasefire resolution, and at that time, we will have time to discuss. This item is not on the agenda. I just want to reiterate, this is not on the agenda yet, but I will be working with our city clerk to hold a special meeting within 2 weeks. I'm asking our city clerk to help schedule a special meeting within 2 weeks to have a special meeting for this item. And if I can have everyone who would like to speak with item 9A, oral communications, if you can please line up. And please do not block any exits. Please do not block any entries or exits.
Mayor,
All right? Yes.
If you'd indulge me with a comment, I just want to make it clear to the public that I've been ordered to schedule a special meeting on the ceasefire. Ordering a special meeting is one thing. We have to find a quorum where the majority of the council is available to be able to discuss it. So please understand that even though, yes, I have been ordered tonight, it's not something that could be done right away. We have to find a time and that works for the entire
Are
council.
we voting on that tonight?
No, that's the mayor has ordered me to schedule a special meeting at this time to discuss that item.
But don't you, if you're doing a special meeting, don't we have to vote on whether or not we're going to have a special meeting?
by authority of the charter, the mayor can call special meetings.
Councilmember Salcido?
I disagree with the mayor calling a special meeting. I encourage the mayor to follow the agenda process, which requires at least 3 people, at least 3 people in total to call a special meeting. I highly doubt that the mayor will get quorum for a meeting like that. And I disagree with the mayor's statement, and I encourage council to use the agenda process that we all voted on and we all agreed on.
Thank you for that. Councilmember Salcido, if I may, I am following process. As mayor, I can call a special meeting, and if that does not happen, then I will continue to follow process. Councilmember Parker?
Clearly don't listen to
Okay, so, yeah. So, thank you, because I was going to ask our attorney to clarify that, because if you're the mayor, you can call a special meeting, or 3 members of the council, just for the public. So that's part of, and we all have to learn all these different rules. So would you like to clarify that? Thank you.
Your statement is correct, Councilmember Parker. The mayor may call a special meeting. Your charter permits the mayor to call a special meeting, or 3 council members may call a special meeting. The procedure that Councilmember Salcido refers to is also permitted. It allows council members to put an item on the agenda for a regularly scheduled meeting.
So since there's going to be a special meeting, then I move to make a motion to limit to 1 hour of comments tonight. That way the comments can be at the special meeting.
All right, do we have a
You
second?
have an hour.
I'll second that, because I think it's really important for us to be able to, okay, so,
Let's please be respectful, because I'm going to give out 3 warnings, and if we have to shut the meeting down, I don't want to do that. I am giving you time, and we are going through the due process, so please give us time to hear you. Let's be respectful.
so there was a second.
Okay, any discussion?
Do we have any discussion before we go to a vote? All right.
Okay, I'll take a vote. Clark?
Aye.
Dutra?
Aye.
Montesino?
Aye.
Orozco?
Nay.
Parker?
Yes.
Salcido?
Aye.
And Quiroz Carter.
No.
The motion carries.
All right, at this time, so now we will be limited to 1 hour, just to clarify, that motion did pass. So we are now open for public comment, oral communication from the public. We're on item 9A. Please state your name and district for the record.
Mayor and city council members, I am Roz Shorenstein, physician and resident of Watsonville for over 40 years. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak against putting any Mideast ceasefire on the agenda. October 6, 2023, there is a ceasefire between Gaza and Israel. On October 7th, thousands of sadistic, genocidal Hamas terrorists invade Israel and rape, mutilate, burn, and murder over 1,200 people and take hundreds of hostages, the worst pogrom against Jews since the Holocaust. If you want to go back to a ceasefire, there will be more massacres, as promised by Hamas. A ceasefire without the surrender by Hamas terrorists guarantees there will be no peace. So why are mobs of people pressuring city councils all over California to support a futile ceasefire? What unites them? Anti-Zionism, the current mutation of the vicious anti-Semitic virus. They defend, in many cases, Hamas atrocities. They demonize and slander Israel, the indigenous Jewish homeland, with false narratives about genocide. They dehumanize and negate Jewish identity with blood libels. In 1920, my grandparents escaped pogroms in Russia by both the White and Red armies. My grandparents would have easily recognized these anti-Semitic Marxists. Their demand for a ceasefire is a Trojan horse, a step towards fracturing civil society and gaining power. Their disruptive, violent behavior at the end of the January 9th Santa Cruz City Council meeting demonstrates that they don't really believe in peace. Slogans like Free Palestine from the river to the sea incite hate crimes against Jews, which have increased 400% since October 7th. I urge you not to give in to bullies. Reject all demands for a futile, divisive ceasefire resolution. Build bridges, do not dig trenches. Please use your goodwill and power wisely to unite the community for the common good locally.
Thank you.
I dedicate this to the hatred in all of us that's demonizing the other. Netanyahu is a very bad man, and Hamas is worse than the KKK meets the Taliban. It's hard to know where to take a stand. Yes, it's a mess in the Holy Land. Supporting the settlements is a brutal, rude move, and Hamas's use of human shields is a satanic groove. So many times I yearn to soothe. Wherever there's evil, we all lose. From Gaza City up to Ramallah, to the people of Palestine, I know it's so hard, your suffering's mine. I pray you're blessed with lives divine. From Tel Aviv up through Jerusalem, to all the people of Israel, I know Jews and Arabs there have been through hell. I pray your ease and blessings as well. Whichever sides your news feeds inspire you to take, I pray you don't stay stuck in hate. Whichever sides your news feeds inspires you to take, I pray you don't stay stuck in hate. Netanyahu es un hombre muy malo, y Hamas es peor que el Ku Klux Klan y los talibanes. Es difícil saber dónde posicionarse si un lío en Tierra Santa. I'm not a professional musician, but I pray for complete ceasefire from Israel and Gaza and a release of all hostages. And beyond this, I pray we don't judge others based on their religion, race, or nationality. Not all Zionists are violent. Most just want a safe home, just as I hope and assume not all Islamists are violent, most just wanting a safe home. The left and right skillfully interweave bigotry with politics. Peace to all.
Thank you. If we can have people state their name and district, please, for the record.
Hello, my name is Elam, District 7. I'm a Muslim Palestinian American standing before you today for what is now the third month in a row. I come asking you for the same thing, to acknowledge and protect the Palestinian community living in Watsonville and stand against the genocide in Palestine. A ceasefire resolution is important for Watsonville to pass to honor your statement of opportunity through diversity, unity through cooperation. I'm here urging you to put it on the agenda and pass a ceasefire resolution. I'm also here representing Palestine Solidarity Central Coast, a coalition of individuals and groups committed to the liberation of Palestine. PSCC is as diverse as it is unified. We are young people and elders. We are brown, black, and white folks. We are Muslims, Jews, Christians, and atheists. And we are here today calling on you, Watsonville City Council, to place on an agenda and pass a ceasefire resolution. It has now been over 101 days and counting of endless atrocities, fear, and slaughter and death amongst the people of Gaza. Our tax money should be coming back to serve our own communities, not for weapons and more violence. Our sadness and trauma are mistaken for aggression. Our peaceful protests are mistaken for riots. Our chanting of free Palestine, meaning equal treatment for all, is mistaken for anti-Semitism when we are Semites at its finest definition. Although I have watched endless slaughter live on my phone, I am not a threat to anyone. My voice and my knowledge are the only weapons I carry. I would not take to the streets with hundreds of peaceful community members week after week to chant for extermination of a people, especially while I watch it happen to my own. The things I say, I mean from the bottom of my heart, and it is for the well-being of all people, not just my own. What I wish for myself and Palestinians is the same I wish for everyone else. I believe Watsonville should support a ceasefire resolution because Islamophobia, anti-Arab, anti-Palestinian hate has never been more prevalent and active than it is now. Now I ask you, council members, in what language does a child cry? When beneath the rubble or above it missing limbs, in what language are the screams of horror? In honor of Martin Luther King, I will finish with a quote.
Thank you.
Hello, thank you for taking your time to listen to us. My name is Zahia, District 7. I'm a Palestinian. I'm American born and raised. I've lived in California my whole life. I'm calling on you to pass a permanent and immediate ceasefire resolution. There have been far too many deaths of innocent Palestinian civilians. As in far too many, I mean over 30,000. That's quite unreal. I believe passing this resolution is important to ensure that we're doing everything in our power to stop more deaths. Starting in smaller cities, such as Watsonville, we can convince larger cities to pass more resolutions by passing one here. Our tax dollars have been funding this genocide, and it needs to stop. Using our voices and doing as much as we can to urge our government to call for a ceasefire and stop funding this genocide is our goal. I want to point out something else, which is I'm not anti-Jewish, and neither are any pro-Palestinians. This conflict isn't about religion. It's about basic human rights. People spread propaganda, and they make this country and others unsafe for people, especially Arabs, Muslims, and even Jews. One Holocaust will never justify another. And for the people who are always blaming us and calling us anti-Semitic, we are Semites. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Erin Tucker. I'm a resident of Monterey County. Mayor, I'd like to thank you for calling this special session. I think it's really important, and I'll tell you why. I'm from the East Coast. I'm from a military family. My grandmother was the oldest female to pass basic training at the age of 34, and she ended up working in the Pentagon. My grandfather also was in the Air Force. He served in the Vietnam War. My father was in the Navy. My sister was in the Army. My brother was in the Air Force. And I am now disillusioned to the fact that we live in a great country. I've been disillusioned, and that has come through seeing the crumbles that come home of my family members from the people that they used to be. My first keffiyeh was given to me by my sister, who went to Syria and who served this country and who was told that we were there to help. And only in a drunken stupor has she admitted to me what actually happened, things that I can't repeat here, for her protection. I see the pieces of my friends who came home from Iraq. I see the pieces of my family and the pieces of all the veterans that are outside this building on the street corner, sitting in trash while you guys talk about your extra $1 million for your contracts and your buildings. So why does this matter in Watsonville? And why do I matter in Watsonville? Well, I'm also a court-appointed special advocate for a 14-year-old foster youth who goes to school here in Watsonville, and I see what a failure the foster care system is. I see what a failure Watsonville public schools are. And I also see that we have a contract with Google Classrooms, which is interesting because they're collecting biometric data on our kids. And this is the same Google that has a $1.2 billion contract in Gaza using the same AI and the same biometric collection data to collect our kids' faces before.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Isaac Chavarria, born and raised here in Watsonville, educator and coach for over 8 years, and of Palestinian descent. 10,000 dead children massacred by U.S.-funded bombs and weapons, funded by us. That fact is irrefutable. How does one reconcile with that fact? How does one go about the day okay with the knowledge that the blood, sweat, and tears of our labor and our work results in the blood, sweat, and tears of 30,000 innocent people killed? How can one sleep at night with that knowledge? These murders would not have been possible without us. Our complacency in the matter compromises everyone's individual, ethical, moral, and/or spiritual integrity. Complacency is complicity, and we are all guilty until funding stops. Since 1948, we have sent over $300 billion to Israel, money that could have been used here for healthcare, tuition, or to help support the houseless communities. So Dutra, I share your frustration in wasting tax dollars. If you do not believe that the conflict is Americans' business, then passing a ceasefire resolution adds to that declaration. Calling for a ceasefire is literally saying, this is not our business. We will not allow our money to be used in the business of war. Pass the ceasefire resolution and show the youth and people of our town that we truly stand for peace.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Abdullah Al-Falo. I've been a resident in Watsonville since 2012. I grew up in Damascus, Syria. Going over all the talking points and all what my previous comrades told you guys, all the numbers, all the killing that's been happening for the past 3 months, but why you guys should care. You guys are elected to serve the people of Watsonville, the taxpayer in Watsonville. So maybe we should talk about how this is impacting us. Since October 7th, I've been living in a shell of my previous self. I've been feeling guilty of even doing something as small as buying groceries. My mom last week was telling me, like, she was tearing up and just saying, like, she feels guilty even drinking this glass of water in front of her. Our community members, our Muslim and Arab community members here in Watsonville have been suffering for the past 3 months. Our mental health is deteriorating. We have to go business as usual, going to work, smiling, going on business meetings, while we're like this other part of ourselves, just thinking about what's going on watching our fellow citizens or our other Muslims and Arab from our ancestors just being killed and going through this genocide. Please pass the ceasefire resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nasreen. The last time I was here, I talked about my grandfather, who was a doctor in Palestine in 1948, and how Israel is targeting medical professionals. It sounds like telling you about Israel's war crimes was not enough to move most of you to action. So this time, I'm going to make this more personal. You are supposed to represent us. I do not want my tax dollars funding a genocide. I want my tax dollars to go towards solving problems in our community, like the housing crisis, our lack of a healthcare safety net, the opioid crisis, and lack of sufficient funding for our public schools. Jimmy Panetta will not listen to us, but as our local representatives, your voices have more sway. As an Arab American, I do not feel safe in our community right now. Your decision on whether or not to call for a ceasefire tells me exactly where you stand. Do you consider me a part of the community? Do you think that I should belong? Or do I not deserve safety? This is personal, and your lack of action does affect me directly. I'd also like to say that just because someone says something is anti-Semitism, that doesn't mean it actually is. And that watering down of what words mean actually makes all of us less safe, including our Jewish brothers and sisters. I urge you all to examine your biases and any hatred in your heart. Please attend the special session and vote in favor of a ceasefire resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. I just want to say, first off, that it's super disrespectful to leave while we're all speaking, because you know you're just purposely trying to not listen to us. I'm a low-income, disabled, 24-year-old Palestinian and indigenous Salvadorian. My name is Karime. I am the third Karime of my family, and I'm named after my teta. My family was driven out of Palestine in the 1950s and 60s, but our home is the Christian Palestinian town of Ramallah. Last week, the IDF sent tanks and shot at my family's hometown. My whole life, I've watched people suffer, but never has it been televised as it has the last 3 months. And over 30,000 Palestinians have been murdered. Hundreds died daily. And thousands more who are trapped under the rubble are either dead or doomed to a slow and agonizing death. The IDF is carpet bombing, kidnapping men, women, children, stripping men naked, not just in Gaza, but all over the West Bank, beating, murdering them, starving them. Netanyahu has called us animals. My people are dying a slow and terrible death. They are destroying the water supply and fields. They are destroying future generations, and I will not condemn those that are fighting back in Palestine. How could they not? What other choice is there after growing up this way? It is a fool who appeals to the humanity of the oppressor, for the oppressor has none. They strip themselves when stripping others. By naming us Palestinians, you admit the indigenous of my people. If we had no country, why do we have a name? Palestine was always a land with a people, but I have been robbed of my culture, my whole family has. I beg you to condemn the senseless torture and murder, the genocide. How could you watch this happen quietly? No matter your politics, you must stand against the senseless killing. This is not a war, it's a concentration camp. Change comes from the bottom up. City by city, pressure the state. State by state, pressure the nation, and nations create change. Support a ceasefire now. The conflation of Zionism and Judaism is dangerous, and they are not the same. Zionism is a fascist regime. The previous claim of beheaded babies is misinformation that was debunked months ago. 136 hostages? What about the 3,000 Palestinian hostages and the 2.3 million hostage now in Gaza? A ceasefire now.
Thank you. And just as a reminder, if the speakers could say their name and their district.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm not much of a public speaker, I'll be very honest with you guys, but I've been speaking all day. I just came from the courthouse where we were getting a solution for the guy that attacked my sister. I've spoke to you guys about this before, but she's 13 years old and a ex-congressional, ex-military man attacked her on the Sand City Dunes for writing Free Palestine on the dunes. He grabbed her by the neck and by the chest, and he lifted her until he can grab her phone to throw it after he kept confronting us about this issue. So I'm here to localize this situation. This is happening in our county. my 13-year-old sister, if her life doesn't matter, and the lives of the people in Gaza don't matter, whose lives do? We're locals. We were born and raised here. This is not okay. And all anyone is asking for is a ceasefire. That's it. And if we can't get Jimmy Panetta, who, by the way, has blocked one of my sisters and one of my friends already on Instagram, but guys, like, it's not that difficult. I've already come up here and spoken about, you know, the politics of the situation, how the United Nations, how Amnesty International, how B'Tselem, a Israeli humanitarian aid organization, have already discussed and decided that this is an apartheid state. Palestinian people are not living safely before October 7th, after October 7th. And I'm sick and tired of hearing about why Palestinians deserve to die and why they deserve to be attacked in Monterey County. I'm really tired of it. I don't like public speaking. I really don't. So thank you guys so much for listening today. And ceasefire now. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sadia, and I'm a Watsonville resident from District 7, and I'm Palestinian. I'm 22 years old, and I'm a full-time student at CSUMB. I've been watching the atrocities happen to my people for the last 101 days, and it must end now. The IDF has set up base only 11 short miles away from my family's home in the West Bank, where there is no Hamas. Do the 30,000 martyrs not deserve justice? Do Palestinian people not deserve to live? I urge you all to listen to your constituents and show up to the special meeting. And we demand that you pass a permanent ceasefire now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sylvie Stein. I'm here today to say Jews support the Intifada. Jews support free Palestine from the river to the sea. Jews support ceasefire. Jews do not want Israeli genocide in our name. To some of my Jewish community members here, I respect your humanity. Stop weaponizing my trauma to justify genocide of Palestinians. Stop it right now. I saw you at Santa Cruz, here you are again. So what they did, as we all know, is they substituted in a resolution right at the last moment that doesn't say the word Palestine, doesn't say the word Palestinian, doesn't say the word ceasefire. It implicitly endorses the mass murder, the continued unchecked mass murder of Palestinians. Some Jews and some people learned from the Holocaust, never again for Jews. I learned from the Holocaust, never again for anyone. Growing up as an Ashkenazi Jew, they told me a lot about the Holocaust, as they should. My ancestors were forced to wear the Star of David on their arms with the word Jew written on it before they were stripped naked and cooked in ovens. They taught me very well how to identify genocidal intent, how to identify what to look out for to prevent the Nazi genocide of the Jewish people. This is what it looks like. This is what it feels like. Stop being complicit in Israeli genocide of Palestinians. It's disgusting. You either vote for and pass the ceasefire resolution, or you do not value Palestinian lives. You either vote for and pass the ceasefire resolution, or you implicitly endorse Israeli genocide. It will be on record. You will be remembered that way. Don't be like Santa Cruz City Council. They were sinister. They did not represent us. We have been framed as violent for supporting an end to genocide, and our opposition has been framed as peaceful for supporting ongoing genocide. This is nuts. Please pass the ceasefire resolution.
Thank you.
Dagote Shi Ani. Hello, my name is Ani. I've come again asking the City Council to attend the special ceasefire meeting. I brought with me the most important person in my life, my son. And if you cannot hear it from the voice of grown people, then maybe you will hear us from the voice of a child. Hiyatsashini ilichin. That means listen to the children. As adults, we can become easily lost. So when in darkness, be guided by the young and innocent voices. Children inherently know right from wrong. We need to look to them as we need to ensure a future safe for the next 7 generations for every child. Attending this special meeting is literally the least you can do. You can show everyone in this room they are being heard. We entrusted you to be representatives of the people. Don't fail us and stop disappointing us. Now is the time to show up. I want my child to grow up seeing his hometown of Watsonville was on the right side of history and stood in solidarity with Palestine. Yaliki hiletse'a. Listen to his words now. Pause it. Start the time again. Oh, you got it?
Tagote si Tega. Hello, my name is Tega. I am 7 years old. There are children in Gaza just like me. We like to play and laugh, and every day they are dying. I want this to end. I know I am young, but I want to cease fire now. This is what's right. Todos los niños merecen ser libres.
Thank you.
What a brave young man. Mayor, council members, my name is John Jackson. Perhaps I shouldn't be here because I don't live in Watsonville. Our family first came to Santa Cruz County in the late 1950s, and right now we're living for 30 plus years in Santa Cruz. The reason I'm here, even though I'm not a resident, is I went to the city council meeting in Santa Cruz where the matter that you're being asked to consider was brought up for consideration. And I not only compliment you on your service to your community doing the best that you know how, but I compliment the audience members, even ones that have come to a different persuasion than I have. I think the discussion here has been very civil, and hopefully we're all learning from each other. And so even though maybe your job description isn't to specialize in international affairs, I think you're doing a great service tonight for your community and our world. Not only do I have an abiding connection with Santa Cruz, but also the Middle East, more than 50 years. I'll just best summarize, besides my word of thanks to you, my word is of hope to all of us, hopefully. In the Middle East, in the Negev, not that far from Gaza, I have lived, studied, socialized, worked with Arab Muslims, with Bedouin, with Christians, with Jews, and it was very amicable. So I think there is hope. I guess I sound a little bit like Pollyanna, and am I suggesting a mechanism how we get there? I think it's having a dialogue where it's courteous, civil, and respectful. I'm learning from the other speakers, and I'm not really offering too much to learn, but I just want to say that I know your main duty is to use the taxpayers' money to make your community better. I hear the call to action beyond that, and you're responding. And so again, I compliment you. I compliment all of you who have come to express your opinions, and thank you for listening to me. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Michael Gasser. I want to emphasize two things about the resolution and why I think you should come to the special meeting and vote for it. First, what's happening now is unprecedented in my lifetime. I've watched wars, I've watched pogroms and deaths, but what's happening is really new, unprecedented. So in this genocide, as I think it's rightfully called, more children have been killed in the last 100 days than in all the conflicts in the world in the last year. More bombs have been dropped in the last 100 days than all the bombs that the United States dropped on Iraq during the 8 years we were there. More journalists have been killed in Gaza in these 100 days than all the journalists killed in World War II. And all of this is happening in a space 1/3 the size of Santa Cruz County, with 10 times the population. Why so many people? Because most of those people are refugees from other parts of Palestine where they were driven during a process of settler colonialism that began 75 years ago. This genocide did not begin on October 7th. This is just the culmination of a process of apartheid and ethnic cleansing. This is Israel's genocide, but it's also ours. Without our funding, this would not happen. Most of the bombs falling on Gaza are made in the United States. So this is our business as Americans. You could courageously join small towns across the United States that are taking it on themselves to make statements about this. Towns like Burlington, Vermont, Davis, California, and Iowa City, Iowa, that have passed ceasefire resolutions. The federal government is not doing it, is not going to go with the will of the people. Americans support a ceasefire. So I ask you to show.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Rabbi Debbie Israel. I live in District 4. I thank you all for being here and listening to our voices, but I'm really sorry to see you again so soon. And I'm now learning I'll be seeing you again soon, maybe not, to once more ask that no ceasefire resolution be considered by the City Council. After last week's Santa Cruz City Council meeting and the violence that ensued, and violence did ensue at that meeting, the ongoing harassment of the Jewish community that followed, I assure you that these ongoing attempts at a resolution will not bring peace to the Middle East, nor will it bring peace to our communities in Santa Cruz or here in Watsonville. Peace will come when Hamas surrenders and the hostages are returned home, period. Last month, the speakers here spoke about peace and the unity of our community. Peace and unity will come when you, City Council, are able to focus on the needs of Watsonville, when we can come together to help the poor, the homeless, those who are struggling right here in our community. Make no mistake, the solution is not found in these ongoing anti-Semitic, and yes, they are anti-Semitic, and anti-Israel tirades that we have been
I'm sorry,
subjected
can we,
to.
this hissing is really.
Please stop with the hissing. Thank you.
An example. The anti-Semitic and anti-Israel tirades that we have been subjected to in and following these council chambers. When I walk on the streets, I am asked where I find the courage to wear a Jewish head covering on my head. So don't tell me that we have no reason as Jews to fear.
Thank you.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Ellen Garfield. I'm here today as a Jewish person, an anti-Zionist Jewish person, in solidarity with the Palestinians, Muslims, and Arabs in the Watsonville community who have never been more vulnerable. I'm calling for the Watsonville City Council to agendize and pass a ceasefire resolution, which includes the release of all hostages, unrestricted entry of humanitarian aid into Gaza, and respect for international law. I'm also one of the representatives of the Santa Cruz Mental Health Professionals for Palestine and a therapist who's served Watsonville residents for the past decade. My professional organization delivered a letter to you signed by over 100 clinicians calling for you to pass a ceasefire resolution, which was our mayor, Watsonville mayor supported this, Mayor Quiroz. Here are some parts of our letter to you. As therapists, we are guided by a set of ethical principles, including the right to autonomy and control of one's life, avoiding actions that cause harm, working for the good of the community and society, justice, and veracity. These principles are in direct opposition to the ongoing use of our tax dollars and global influence to continue perpetuating the bombing, starvation, and murder of Palestinians and now folks in Lebanon and Yemen. It's especially our community's business because weapons are being produced at Lockheed Martin in our county. We've heard some worry that a resolution supporting a ceasefire could be divisive for the community, but also acknowledge that taking a stand on important issues has always been nearly always been divisive, like abolishing slavery, desegregation, and LGBTQIA rights, among many others that have long history of being controversial despite their clear moral standing. and importance for the safety and well-being. We urge you to join other cities around the country and globe in taking a stand against injustice and genocide and agendize and call.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor and City Council members, my name is Linda Orozco, and I have been a professional in the early childhood education field for more than 25 years. I'm also a commissioner on the Child Care Planning Council for Santa Cruz County. My work includes understanding best practices for children and their families and how to be proactive in making sure children and their families in our community are supported and thriving. Research tells us that children and families thrive when the community in which they live make a commitment to supporting the ideology and services that support the neighborhoods and policies that affect their lives. The community characteristics and actions that the leadership, you, promote create a community of well-being for children and families. Community leadership must make a commitment to make children and families a priority. This means taking a stand to defend the quality of life for children and families in all aspects locally and abroad. We need resources dedicated here instead of sending billions overseas to slaughter innocent people. I'm sure you understand the long and devastating history of racism and discrimination in our country against people of color and the demonization of our Muslim brothers and sisters. Despite advances in civil rights, public policies, many institutions often reflect or repeat this historical trauma, contributing in large and small ways to perpetuating a system that is unfair and deadly for children, women, and men of color. We must take a stand. Watsonville must go on record as a city to demand a ceasefire in Palestine and stand against war in our name in the Middle East and around the world. We must set an example for our children that we took a stand, that we want them to grow up in a community committed to life and not death. Please do the right thing, attend the special meeting, and pass a ceasefire resolution. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening, and my name is Takashi Mizuno.
And I'm Kitty Mizuno, District 7.
We are here tonight to respond to one of the public comments made by an elder of the community in the last City Council meeting in December. He asked us what is the purpose of a ceasefire resolution in the City Council. Last November, a friend who has advocated for a ceasefire resolution shared with me a letter addressed to a City Council representative written by a Palestinian American resident in Watsonville. I read it again when I prepared my public comment tonight. I was struck by her words in the letter. I quote her words, "As a third generation of Watsonville native, I see the Palestinian within the soul of the people of our community, Watsonville, the home of strawberries, the indigenous, the culture, and the resilience. I have also been deeply touched by a young Palestinian teacher, a poet, and a writer who was murdered with her child by the Israel military on October 20th. I quote an excerpt of her poem, which she wrote on October 10th, 10 days before she was murdered. Her name is Heba Agnada. The poem was translated from Arabic to English by Mr. Fadi Joda, a Palestinian poet and a medical doctor. I asked Kitty to read it.
I shelter you and the children who are sleeping as chicks in the lap of their nest. They don't walk in their dreams because death towards the house walks."
Thank you.
We are too. Can we have 1 more minute?
Thank you. Unless you, well, I'm going to defer to our city clerk.
If the intent is to seize your time, then that'll be it, and then it's her time to speak for 2 minutes. Is that what we're doing? Yes, okay. Then.
Read the rest of your statement.
How can we respond to the ongoing genocide?
Excuse me, I just want to be clear that you had your 2 minutes. You had about 13 seconds left on your time, but you passed your time over to her.
Oh, really?
So I can restart her time and give her a full 2 minutes if that's the intent.
If you'd like, I can read what you wrote.
Just so everyone understands that when they come up to the podium, if they want to have separate minutes. Yeah,
Right.
I think that's
Oh,
great.
thank you.
How can we respond to the ongoing genocidal war inflicted upon Palestinians by the Israeli military in Gaza, which is aided by our taxpayer money?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Yesenia. I live in District 7. I grew up here, and now I do environmental education and urban forestry. So I hope that all of you actually show up to the special meeting, since you guys limited our talking time to an hour. When people ask, what does it matter if a small city makes a motion, I feel like that's a cop-out, the same way as sometimes when some of y'all say that you guys have no pull in the county. We have no pull here. Like, I don't have any influence. I can't make any decisions, but I show up because it matters. So the same way that I want you guys to show up to the county, I want you guys to show up to the state and the federal government. You talk about people wasting our tax money. I'm tired of our tax money being wasted, especially having, like, known how advanced their surveillance technology is and the weapons they have, and you're telling me that they can't target specific people and they have to bomb entire neighborhoods. They have to wipe out entire homes. I don't even know what to say. I have notes, but it's just people lived in Palestine in peace before, and then there's like a far-right government that takes over and convinces and brainwashes their citizens that there's enemies and they need to be taken out, and that shit breaks my heart. And I'm sorry for cussing, but like, it just pisses me off, and there doesn't need to be that many like civilian casualties. And for the average age of the child that is dying to be 5, that's crazy to me, because I work with kids from like kinder to even college age, and like, that's so little to just die. And even for the adults, like, their lives matter too. Yeah, thank you for listening to me, but you guys do have influence. Step up.
Thank you.
Pam Sexton, District 1. I teach at the adult school just across the street, and I want to call on you to show that you care, to really show us that you care. This is something we're watching on TV. Are we so desensitized to genocide, to mass bombardment of hospitals and refugee camps? I have worked in refugee camps. Can you, picture yourself in a refugee camp with people who are barely surviving, and that's bombed. We cannot allow ourselves to be desensitized. I want the world to be a safe place. I also want our community to be safe. I want all of my Jewish friends, I want all of my Palestinian friends, my neighbors, to be safe. And bombarding a place where people are entrapped is not a way to keep anyone safe. I want to yield the rest of my time to have more speakers, but please show up to this special meeting. Show us your humanity. Show us you care.
Thank you.
Hi you all. My name is Marissa. I'm a resident here in Watsonville. Usually I have something written down, but I kind of just wanted to not take up 2 minutes to allow more people to speak. But I know that all of us, I know y'all are council members, but y'all have also all been 13 years old before. So I would just like y'all to remember when you were 13, how tender of an age that is. I am really pretty devastated about the fact that in Monterey today, there was a hearing of the People versus Max Steiner, who is a Zionist in this area, who actually choked a 13-year-old girl. And it's just because she was trying to write Free Palestine in seaweed on the beach. I know we have all been young before. I just want y'all to imagine if that happened to you, or if that happened to even someone that you know that's 13 years old right now, I would want very much for something to be done. I know we're not Monterey, we're Watsonville, but it's close enough to make my heart ache. 30,000 human beings lost is enough to make my heart ache for months now. And I love the community. I would love for the $4 billion we send to Israel every year to be used for us, for our community. And, you know, I think y'all can do so much more with that money than killing people. So I'm sure, you know, you've already heard many similar things over and over again, but I would just like to plead with y'all to please come to the meeting and let's pass this ceasefire resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask for a quick pause? Just wanted to let the public know there's about 15 minutes left of public input. So just be mindful of that. It looks like there's more speakers in line than we're going to have time for, so that's just a warning to you all. Go ahead.
Buenas tardes, soy inmigrante al Condado de Santa Cruz, Distrito 4. Jimmy, al comienzo de la reunión dijiste que no deberíamos de gastar dinero de los contribuyentes de manera imprudente, y estoy de acuerdo. Nuestros impuestos dan a Israel $10.4 millones cada día. Jimmy, at the beginning of the meeting, you said we shouldn't be spending taxpayers' money recklessly, and I agree. Our tax dollars give Israel $10.4 million every single day. As the people have said, the bombs are built here in Santa Cruz, and so this is an issue that affects the voters here. And I want to say that peace is not the absence of violence. Without justice, there can be no peace, and I'm really saddened to see my Jewish community weaponize the actions at other places to invalidate our message, okay? I didn't see any violence at any of the other protests that I attended. The only violence that I've ever seen is politicians of this county call the police on their own constituents. That to me is very, very violent, and I don't condone that type of state violence. So yeah, I'm gonna give more time to people, but again, our taxes fund this, so it has to do with us, Jimmy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Nate Ramos. I'm from District 7, born and raised in Watsonville. And I urge you all to find a time for this special meeting on a ceasefire resolution. I urge you all to be there, to show up, and to continue listening to the community. And I want to applaud everyone for coming out and speaking today. And I urge you all to especially listen to our Palestinian community members and how they're feeling by the situation. I know we've all been calling, emailing, faxing our representatives to no change in their position when it comes to military aid to Israel, to a ceasefire. And I applaud us again for starting bottom up now. Because if our federal representatives, our state representatives aren't listening, we need to start making change where we are. And that's, I think, what we're doing today. And I invite all of you to be a part of that. So thank you, and I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rachel, and I'm a resident of Watsonville in the unincorporated area out in Freedom. I'm a descendant of Jewish refugees that narrowly escaped capture during World War II. And as a Jew, the conflation of anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism and the genocide Israel's committing in the name of Judaism is what makes me feel unsafe. This is an urgent humanitarian crisis. Many people have spoken about the stats, so I won't go into them now. But there's nothing that can justify the truly horrific acts of genocide that we are watching on our phones in real time every day. Our president has now bypassed Congress twice to deliver additional aid to Israel. Not only do these actions not represent the will of the constituents, as at least 61% of the population support a ceasefire, it's also in violation of the Leahy Law, which prohibits the government from using funds for assistance to foreign militaries where there's credible evidence that gross violations of human rights have been committed, and South Africa brilliantly outlined these in great detail last week. Statements of international solidarity and support in times of significant struggle against oppression have a long and powerful legacy in the United States at the city council level, with resolutions against apartheid in South Africa and adjoining boycott initiatives. As our local representatives, I urge you to pass a ceasefire resolution like other cities have done, San Francisco last week, Oakland, Richmond, Iowa City. to send a message to the state and federal government that hasn't been listening to us, been representing us, that we demand a ceasefire and that we don't want to have our tax dollars enable an ongoing genocide. Thank you. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Raudelco Barrubias. I am born and raised from Watsonville, and I am from District 2. I am also the Vice President for Pajaro Valley Pride and representing my whole board. We are calling on you we're calling on to you to place on your next City Council meeting agenda and pass a ceasefire resolution, one that asks for a permanent and immediate ceasefire, unconditional humanitarian aid, and does not dehumanize Palestinian or Jewish people in any way. There is no justifications for the horror being documented in Palestine, especially when we have lost generations of families through these acts. Among those lives lost were queer and or trans individuals who already face prosecution, now must take additional steps to survive just because of the ground they stand in. Make your decision about the sanctity of human life and being on the right side of history than over corporate greed. The ultimate goal is to respect international law and protection of security of all innocent civilians. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nat. I'm a community member. My family lives in Watsonville, and we spend our money here. I'm also a co-director for the Asian American Justice and Innovation Lab, and I'm here to ask the council to show up to the ceasefire meeting and pass the resolution. We need a permanent and unconditional ceasefire so that the people in Gaza can live, so that the children of Gaza can grow up, and so that we do not lose our own humanity by letting this genocide happen before our eyes and with our tax dollars. Over 24,000 people have been killed in Gaza, 60,000 injured, and 290,000 homes destroyed. That's equivalent to almost half of Watsonville residents dead, and the rest of us wounded, along with half of Santa Cruz wounded, and every single home in the entire Santa Cruz and Monterey County destroyed. All of us homeless with no access to food, water, or medicine. Our common humanity tells us that it could easily be us, but for the chance of birth. Being born on the other side of the border wall, being born on the other side of the ocean, being born on the other side of the world. And if it were us digging our children out of the rubble with our bare hands, if it were us who had to hear the screams of our children as their limbs have to be amputated without anesthesia, if it were us going out to look for food for our children and then returning to find that we no longer have any children to feed, if it were us who can smell the blood and the death every minute of every hour of every day and hear the droning of the aircraft flying low every single night, wondering if it's us that's going to be next, we would want someone, everyone, to fight for our lives and to say ceasefire at every level of government with every voice that they had. So I ask you to please honor the humanity and the lives of the people of Gaza and the humanity of the people who have gathered here today to use their voices to speak up. And please attend the special meeting and please vote for a ceasefire resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hola, buenas noches. My name is Maria Ramos, and I live off Mount Madonna. For the last 23 years, I have been working in Watsonville, this indigenous Calendurak Amamutsan territory. First as a social worker, and now as a partera here at the local hospital and Salud para la Gente. I work with the underdog, the lower class, the uninsured, and the undocumented. And they're mostly indigenous people from Oaxaca, the Mixtecos, the people of the rain and the clouds. During the pandemic, healthcare workers and campesinos were the only ones out. We were forced to show up to work sick and without childcare so that the whole country could continue to receive healthcare, have their babies in a safe way, and have fresh food to eat. That is why I founded Campesina Womb Justice, a mutual aid organization that has provided PPE, ancestral medicine, womb care kits, advocacy, and financial assistance to local Mixtecos. During the Pajaro floods, Campesina Womb Justice raised $250K through a GoFundMe and social media donations within 2 weeks of the floods. We provided 400 families $500 in cash to undocumented families in Mexico, when it took local nonprofits and FEMA months to show up for their people. I am here today because as a previously undocumented person in Santa Cruz County, I have experienced what it means like to be oppressed, to be illegal and unwanted by the ruling class. Since NAFTA started in 1994, the poorest people, mostly Black and Indigenous from Latin America, are being forced to migrate north in search of a living wage. But campesinos are not currently making living wages, and they have no human rights. They're sick from being poisoned with pesticides and sick from not being able to afford the fruits they pick. Their life expectancy is only 49 years.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Elisa Martinez. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, and I specialize in the treatment of trauma and post-traumatic stress. I've worked for years with at-risk children, adults, and families in the city of Watsonville. And I'm a lifelong Pajaro Valley resident, and I'm calling on you to place on an agenda and pass a resolution that asks for a permanent and immediate ceasefire in Gaza and Israeli-occupied Palestine, unconditional passage of humanitarian aid to the people of Gaza, and I'm asking for a resolution that does not dehumanize Palestinians or Jewish people in any way. Also urging you to attend the special meeting. As a mental health professional, I've seen firsthand the effects that trauma has on the human brain and on the nervous system. The trauma affects the basic ability to develop, function, and thrive in every area of life, period. And the ethnic cleansing, killing, torture, starvation, and deprivation of basic medical care that's happening right now is causing trauma, and the effects of this will be lasting and far-reaching for years to come. I'm also deeply concerned for the Palestinians, Arabs, Muslims, and Jewish people who live in our community and who are witnessing this genocide, and in this are suffering a form of vicarious traumatization, and who also themselves feel unsafe living in this community. And this resolution matters to us as local residents because this genocide is funded by our tax dollars. And it is your job, the job of our local elected officials, to take our voices to higher levels of government and to urge them to act. So this is our business, and this does matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just want to remind the members of the public that we had a 1 hour cap. We have 5 minutes left and 4 speakers. Please go ahead.
I'll be quick. Thank you to the last speaker talking about trauma. Buenas tardes, Mayor and respected council members. I reside in District 5. My name is Elias Gonzalez. As a community member, I've spent years alongside others to improve the lives of disenfranchised communities and those most impacted by social inequalities. I stand here today because, like Betty before me, I cannot look away from the systemic oppression and violent displacement of more than 1 million people, the murder of more than 25,000 people, and 10,000 of them being small children. I stand here today to respectfully ask you to reflect on what your constituents have made clear. The community present is asking you to adopt a ceasefire, urging you to stand on the right side of history. Why is this important? 30% of your population is under the age of 18. We just heard about trauma. We just heard of everything happening in our communities. That's why it's important. Passing the permanent ceasefire resolution will send the message that Watsonville is a leading voice for social and racial justice, and that this council is listening and thinking about all of our futures. I implore council members to stand in solidarity with the community's request and join us at this special meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Anabel Anguiano, residente del Distrito 2. Estoy aquí para pedirles, por favor, incluyan en la agenda una resolución de alto al fuego, que pida un alto al fuego, que pida ayuda inmediata, incondicional y que no deshumanice en modo alguno a los palestinos ni al pueblo judío. La humanidad está pidiendo ayuda y nuestra respuesta marcará la historia. Cuando mis sobrinas y mis sobrinos estén estudiando historia y lleguen a este punto, quiero decirles con orgullo que nuestra comunidad fue escuchada y representada con una resolución de alto al fuego. Palestina no está sola. La humanidad está observando y aprendiendo. Palestina nos está enseñando a ser valientes, a tener fe y a confiar en nuestra comunidad. Y por Palestina estamos aquí. Gracias.
I'm going to ask the next speaker to please wait a moment while the interpreter interprets that for us. Thank you.
I am Anabel Anguiano, resident of District 2. I am here to please agendize a ceasefire resolution, to request and to authorize a ceasefire resolution, to offer unconditional help, and to offer support, and to not belittle Palestine or our Jewish people. Our response will mark history. When my nieces and my nephews are studying history and they get to this point, I want to be able to tell them and be proud that our community was listened to and was supported with a ceasefire resolution. Palestine is not alone. Our community is observing. We are learning. Palestine is teaching us to be stronger, to be faithful, and to rely on our community. And because of Palestine, we're here. We support them. Thank you.
Mayor and council, we have 2 minutes left. We have 2 speakers waiting in line, so I'll go ahead and take the next speaker.
Hi, good evening. My name is Carmen, and I live in what you call District 5. I work and I'm alongside with the Campesino community here in Watsonville who wake up at 4 in the morning, and sometimes even at 9 p.m. they're still holding up in meetings very respectfully. So it's a little bit shameful to see my own representative look like he's falling asleep throughout all of this. So we're here to add to the voices, the local calls, the global calls for a permanent ceasefire. Palestine has been made to what the Israeli sociologist Baruch Kimberlich has called the world's largest concentration camp. So as a community, we refuse to be complicit in any genocidal war, and we call on this city council to do the same as the South African provisional measures have called, and add to their agenda, and participate in the special meeting to call for a permanent and a complete ceasefire, including restoration of water, food, fuel, electricity, and internet, and unimpeded entry of humanitarian services. We don't want any more money for any wars.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Veronica Hamilton. I'm a delegate of the Monterey Bay Central Labor Council for UAW 2865. I'm glad to have your full attention as I have this moment. I'm here to tell you that the Monterey Bay Central Labor Council has heard the call from Palestinian Union and Union's people who have asked people of conscience around the world and for union solidarity. We're here to tell you that in the Monterey Bay Central Labor Council, we have voted to endorse a ceasefire. Now, why would we do that? We did that so that you would know that the people who you ask for your support when you're running for office, you know where our values stand, and I want you to know that we see you now, we see what you're doing, and we will see you on Election Day. Now, I want to make one thing very clear. This is a very respectful room. I see you smiling. This is a very respectful room. We're really, we're asking you to do something. But I work in organized labor. I was a union leader for the Wildcat strike at UCSC, and I want to tell you something. We can get a lot more disruptive. So get this done right now, pass a ceasefire resolution, or you're going to regret it.
Thank you very much. If we can have some order in the room, please. Thank you very much. At this time, our cap of 1 hour is over. So at this time, we're going to close out public comment. And we're going to take a short recess, and we will be back in 5 minutes.
1, 2, 1, 2. So it might be better like that, so you feel the. Oh.
All right, welcome back from that short recess. We are now on item 9B, and this is oral communications from the council. I'm going to start all the way at the end and work our way in. So I'm going to start with Councilmember Salcido.
No comments.
All right, moving on, Councilmember Parker.
I have no comments at this time, except for I hope everyone had a Happy New Year.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on, Councilmember Montesino.
Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks.
All right, moving down the line, Councilmember Dutra.
Nothing to report. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Councilmember Clark. I got it that time.
I have nothing to report as well, but I would like to wish everybody a Happy New Year as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Orozco.
No comments at this time.
All right, and that brings it to me. I also do not have any comments at this time, so let us move forward to item 9C, report out of closed session. Do we have anything to report?
No closed session was had and no reportable action was taken.
All right, thank you very much. We are now on item 10, reports to council, 10A, city manager's update report.
Yeah, very briefly, just again, want to wish everybody a happy 2024, and also to say that we have a few items coming up, special meetings, and one of them is important on sort of the growth and the general plan and sort of the council's priority on economic development. So we're looking forward to that. The other thing is there's a lot of new stuff going on as we start 2024, a lot of the initiatives going forward, and we will be bringing an update to the council on everything that's in front of you over the next year. So with that, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So let us move on to item 11, public hearings, ordinances, and appeals, and we are on item 11A, which is amend the general plan, land use map, and zoning map to make the entire parcel located at 1926 Freedom Boulevard, general, commercial, and thoroughfare commercial.
Thank you, Mayor Quiroz Carter, and council members, good evening. I do want to point out before I jump into this really quickly that the housing element update, if you have not heard, is out for public review right now. And it is open until next Friday, January 26th. So for anyone here in the chambers who's not aware of that, please take the opportunity to go take a look at the document and provide us with some feedback on a document we've been working very hard on all year for all of 2023. There's a splash page on the City of Watsonville website. So if you go to our website, that's the very first thing that'll pop up, and you can just follow the links. So with that, I am here tonight to present 1926 Freedom Boulevard. As you mentioned, this is a general plan land use amendment and zoning map amendment for a new car and truck rental business. It's an enterprise rent-a-car. I would like to start by just getting you familiar with the setting here. So this is the view from Freedom Boulevard northeast. You can see the construction was going on at the time here. That's Vista Verde Early Education Center to the left. There's an existing office building in the middle of the otherwise vacant parcel, and then Crystal Laundromat and a few residential units to the right-hand side. As you can see, there's no curb, gutter, or sidewalk or landscape strip along this section of Freedom Boulevard. This parcel does span between Freedom Boulevard and Quinn Avenue, so this is the rear of the parcel visible from Quinn Avenue. You can see adjacent residential development on the left and right, both within the City of Watsonville on the left and in the county on the right. That's an affordable housing development just past our city limits. And then you see the rear view of the existing office building. And just because we like to look at it this way, here's the satellite view where you can see all the same things. You know, different people, different structure, different folks. I always show my kids this and they have no idea what they're looking at. So anyway, all the same things, but from a top-down view. At issue here is that there is a dual general plan land use and zoning designation on this parcel, with the rear of the parcel in residential low density R1 and the front of the parcel in general commercial and commercial thoroughfare zoning. This is something we never want to have as a city, and it is a remnant from pre-annexation, so this is a bit of a cleanup effort. One of the other issues with this parcel is that it is located in an airport safety zone. So it's in the vast majority of the parcel is in airport safety zone 2 that has a high risk level. It has a maximum residential density of 1 unit per 10 to 20 acres and a max non-residential intensity of 40 to 60 people per acre, which is very low. These non-residential uses are limited to ones that attract few people. For example, light industrial, warehousing, storage, single-story office buildings, and things like car rental businesses. With things that should be avoided in this zone are things like restaurants, group recreation uses, shopping centers, et cetera, and of course residential. And I did want to give an example of what 1 unit per 10 to 20 acres looks like. This is the Manabiao Business Park specific plan area. You might be familiar with it. The lower portion there, we just approved a 180,000 square foot warehouse. So this altogether is 20 acres. 10 in the East Ohlone parcels and 20 between the two of them. This is the size of the site that's in the under consideration tonight. So residential is really not an option here with this airport safety zone. And of course, that was the view on the day of the Planning Commission meeting. So the project was already, it already went before the Planning Commission on December 5th. They reviewed it for a special use permit, and here's the project that they were considering. This is the site plan proposed for the enterprise rental car business. As you can see, there's a stormwater bioretention area on the left, the existing office building to be renovated and changed into a new office building, new trash enclosure, new car wash canopy, and of course lots of parking because this is going to have rental cars and box trucks. Very simple buildings, as you can see here, square buildings, rectangular carports, and trash enclosure, very simple. So what you're being asked tonight is to consider amending the general plan to clean up the remnant zoning and land use designations. What you'll be asked to do is to make the entire parcel general commercial land use designation and CT commercial thoroughfare zoning. As I mentioned previously, the Planning Commission reviewed the special use permit and this request to rezone and recommended approval, or recommended that you approve these. Sorry, I left that in from last time. These actions require findings of general plan consistency. So staff reviewed, did an analysis of the project in relation to the 2005 general plan goals, policies, and implementation measures. We were able to make findings of consistency with those goals, policies, and implementation measures shown here. Those are also located in Exhibit A of the resolution for both the general plan land use amendment and the zoning map amendment. The other required finding is that it is compatible with adjacent uses. So we did a little bit further analysis and found that the proposed development would continue the pattern of existing development along Freedom Boulevard with commercial parcels backing up to residential parcels. The rear portion of the property, as I mentioned earlier, is located in Airport Safety Zone 2 and cannot really accommodate residential uses, so it doesn't make sense to have a residential zone on that portion of the parcel. And the project conditions also require a template landscaping area between the rear fence and Quinn Avenue, including drought-tolerant plants and things, and a little berm to make it more palatable to the residential development along that street. Those findings are also located in the two resolutions. In terms of CEQA, which the California Environmental Quality Act, which you always have to consider in terms of actions like this, this is actually qualifies for the common sense exemption because it can be seen with certainty that there is no possibility that the activity in question, which is amending two maps, may have a significant effect on the environment. So with that, staff recommends the City Council adopt a resolution approving a general plan map amendment designating the entire parcel located at 1926 Freedom Boulevard General Commercial. And because the zoning amendment requires an ordinance, we would recommend that you introduce by title only and waive further reading of an ordinance approving a zoning map amendment designating the entire parcel located at 1926 Freedom Boulevard Thoroughfare Commercial, and then that will return to you at the next meeting.
All right, thank you very much for that report. Council, clarifying and technical questions. Councilmember Parker?
Okay, so, and I think you partially answered it, but I didn't catch it. I'm looking at the map with the purple and the yellow residential low density and the general commercial. No, not that one. The one that's really, yeah, that one.
Yep.
Okay, so in looking at that one, you're asking us to make the yellow part, which is residential low density, into a general commercial CT, so that the entirety of the enterprise can fit their business there. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the lot next to that is 01403218. Is that a residential lot?
Yes.
Is there a home on that lot?
Yes.
Okay, and what is the mitigation between the home and the business?
There's a 6-foot redwood fence that will be installed, and actually that fence, existing fence is actually not in the proper location where it sits currently, so that'll actually be corrected as part of this project. But there will be a 6-foot fence, and then we also took a look at the photometric plan to make sure that there was no light trespass. So the original plan, for example, had lights that were a certain height that would have actually had more than half a foot candle at the lot lines, which is considered a nuisance. So we had them redo the lighting plan in a way that light does not now trespass on that parcel or the adjacent affordable housing development in the county.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was part of my next question, is the lighting from, you're saying that it will not go over that 6-foot fence?
Yes. There's a photometric plan in the plan set that demonstrates the lighting at all of the lot lines does not exceed half a foot count.
Okay. And technically, I have no idea what that means.
That's the standard for when it's
I just
considered
want you
a
to know
nuisance.
that,
Yeah.
yeah. And so, but what concerns me is if a family lives there,
Mhm.
and they have animals, and they have kids and everything, that those lights, being that it's a new place to have a business, that those lights and everything will be mitigated, and maybe a fence that's redwood fence will not be good enough. Maybe it's too open in some fashion, so light will bleed through. Have you thought about that or discussed that?
What's proposed is a solid redwood fence, so I mean, other than the slight gap.
Yeah, no, all of us who have fences know that those can be big gaps, too. So, I mean, I'm just asking, something more solid, which is like, completely solid, whether it's, I don't know.
I mean, we did not ask them to consider a wall, but that could be an option if the council wished. Actually, it wasn't included as part of the project approval, so I think we would have to revisit that, because you're only being asked to approve the map changes, not the project itself, so.
Yeah, but I wouldn't approve the map changes if I didn't approve what the
Right,
project
and if you don't
did to
approve
the
the map changes,
residents next door.
the
Yeah.
project approval doesn't go into effect, so.
Right,
yeah.
so that's a concern I have. That's all the concern, because clearly that's where the line was driven. The other ones, they're used to it, right, where the other purples, and they've been there, and it's been that way for how long? Where the other purple areas are, the ones next door, all those purple,
Many decades.
yeah,
And
multiple decades.
Yeah.
So everybody's had a chance to get used to it. Have we had any conversations with the people who own that residential plot next door?
I believe there have been, that might be a better question for the applicants.
Okay.
I know that I talked to them about the non-conforming fence and how that was going to have to be brought into compliance, and I think I remember them saying that they'd had some conversations with them about that, but that would be a better question for the applicant.
Okay, all right, thank you.
We had Councilmember Dutra and then Councilmember Montesino.
Thank you. So I'm assuming that all the regular upgrades to Freedom Boulevard will be made with this project. Can you just kind of maybe let the public know what upgrades will be done to the Freedom Boulevard?
Yeah, so it will actually match what's existing next door at the Early Education Center. So you're going to have a curb, gutter, sidewalk, landscaping strip.
Can you put a picture up?
I don't know if you can see it in my original street image. Let me see. Yeah, it ends right at that yellow hydrant on the left. But there was curb, gutter, sidewalk, landscape strip included as part of that development, and it's going to continue and line up with that on that property. So what will happen is because that does not exist at the next parcel where the Crystal Laundromat is located, what's going to happen is that the curb, gutter, sidewalk, landscaping strip is going to go all the way to the utility pole you see there on the right, and then the sidewalk is going to ramp down for the last 8 feet so that if there was someone in a wheelchair utilizing it, they will be able to get back to grade and to that driveway.
Does this conform with the Freedom Boulevard, I guess, reconstruction that we're going to be doing soon?
Public Works reviewed the project and they've approved this.
So we're not going to be needing
improvements,
to move telephone poles later, or, ruin sidewalks or do anything to, once that project begins? Everyone was speaking to everybody?
Mhm.
Okay. We have this on video. Okay, and then just out of curiosity, it seems like this is growing, this business. What has been the rise? Why is there an increase in demand in Watsonville for this?
So my understanding of the applicant's proposal is that this is, first of all, this is the existing enterprise rental business on Main Street, which has a very, very small space-limited location.
Right.
That does not offer box trucks. And they have a location in Santa Cruz where they have a very, very high demand for box trucks from South County residents. So the intent here was to expand the business and provide the box truck rental opportunity for people in the community in which they live.
I mean, this is a much bigger property.
Yeah.
Are the applicants, I mean, did they come and speak to the planning commission, or?
Well, they were there at the December 5th meeting, and they also actually presented to the WAC as well to talk to them about the airport safety, see if there were any airport
They didn't want to
safety
present to
concerns.
us?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the applicants are here, so they,
Oh, okay, they're here.
they're welcome to come up and answer
Well,
specific
yeah, I
questions
have
if you
some
like.
questions. I mean,
Yeah.
what, the increase, is this, why is there, what do you see as the increase in demand for this? Which, to me, I see as a good thing, so don't feel like it's a negative question.
The applicants. So to answer your question, Enterprise has been looking for a Watsonville location for what they're telling us about 7 to 8 years now. And they've had a difficult time trying to finding a suitable location. And ideally, they wanted about an acre, which we're satisfying with this site. Their Santa Cruz location, where they do have a truck division, they said, I'm speaking from memory here, I think it was about 80% of that truck business, and they can track these trucks, they're coming to Watsonville. And the reason they're coming to Watsonville is the ag business. So a lot of those trucks are servicing the berry farmers. And that was kind of the big driver behind this move, is the truck rental business. As far as the car rental business, this would, another initiative that they have as a company, although car and truck rental divisions run separately, there's an effort from corporate to have the two work together and at least be on the same site. So you're starting to see that in other parts of California and across the U.S. But what's really driving this move is the truck business and catering to the ag businesses here in Watsonville.
I appreciate that. I was just kind of curious. I mean, I've rented from you guys before, and so it's a really small place where it is right now in Freedom, on Main Street, I mean.
Yes.
So that's nice. And I remember after graduating from college, a lot of the first jobs that a lot of people got were at car rental places. And so I don't know if you guys still do that, but I just remember a lot of my young friends working at, all of your companies. So.
Yeah, and that would be the intent. And our estimation is that this new location is going to employ 4 to 6 employees.
Okay. And do you still have that same policy of new grads, or how do you guys even hire?
Well, I'm actually not with Enterprise itself, but I actually, as a college grad, do remember, going to interview with Hertz and Enterprise as well. So I think they've still got that program rolling out.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Montesino and then Parker? Oh, okay, Parker.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So I have a question. Aren't there other areas that might work for this a little bit better, maybe on Riverside Drive? That we wouldn't have to change?
I think it all depends on market conditions, but honestly, we've entertained multiple inquiries about this site over the years for many different uses, and because of the airport land use restrictions, it's a very challenging site, as well as, for example, drive-through facilities. That you can't have drive-through facilities within 150 feet of residential, and this is surrounded on 3 sides by residential. So it doesn't lend itself well to any of those other things that are hot in the market right now, whereas it lends itself perfectly to this type of business that has a very low intensity of people on the site at any one time. And it does provide a lot of site improvements, stormwater treatment, all that kind of stuff. So.
And I heard what you just said. I really did. But I'm going to go back to the thought of what this gentleman just said. Our berry worker, our industrial area has all our ag guys right there, right across the street, right in that whole area. They wouldn't be transporting trucks down Freedom Boulevard, down Green Valley, to go back and forth and do rental. It would be right there. And there's a lot of body shops and other things that people would rental cars. I'm curious to know, and I heard what you just said, but aren't there more available places along, and especially in our industrial area?
Yeah, I think that's a better question for the applicant. we do as much matchmaking as we can, but we
Well, I don't want to call
generally
that a
up to the
cop-out
market.
answer, but I'm kind of call it a cop-out answer because, you know, you guys are the ones who know our area really well, and you know what would be available and the amount of, you know, space, and you would show that to them, right? So I understand why the city is thinking, this is a great place, this is a fit, because it has its technical issues. But other than that, okay, applicant person, what was your name again, sir?
David.
David.
David Howe. As Ed mentioned, Enterprise has been looking for at least 7 to 8 years for the appropriate site. So this one checks the boxes in terms of zoning. Finding the right zoning for a car and truck rental facility is difficult. From a real estate perspective, yeah, Enterprise has been looking for a long time. From a real estate perspective, we've been trying to find the real estate for them. We have looked up and down. We've written unsolicited letters to property owners. We've looked at, you know, properties that, you know, at least to us appear blighted. We've met with the city and, you know, explored other sites. And this one, I mean, it's hard to find. It's really difficult to find. So this one seems to be the best fit for this use.
I appreciate that, and I'm going to go back to you guys then for the technical answers. We have no space over in that side of the area that wouldn't look, you know, attractive, being that Ag is right across the street and the proximity to their actual customers are, you know, a hop, skip, and a jump away versus across town.
There's a lot of different technical aspects. There's, you know, first, there's obviously the zoning and the size, but then Enterprise has to find a willing landlord or someone willing to sell the property to them. And so finding a parcel that checks all those boxes, that is what has been difficult for Enterprise all these years. So while there may be, like, you thinking 290 Riverside, you know, the Solorio parcel that's been vacant next to Annie Glass for years, that's probably a little too big for these guys. Then when you're developing on a Caltrans right-of-way, it adds more complexity to it. One of the things that Enterprise was not really interested in was having to jump through a ton of hoops to get their facility up and running, and throwing in another regulating jurisdiction or regulating agency would have hit them if they were on Riverside. In our industrial area, no, we don't have a lot of vacant land or area that is available for a use like this. So it is difficult, but like the applicant has said, we have been working with Enterprise for a long time to find an appropriate location.
Okay, so where Golden Brands is currently, right, and it's moving.
Yes.
Right? That is not size or proximity, but the working with Caltrans is the holdup there?
Well, that site, number one, is not vacant yet.
Yet.
Number two, I don't think it has a large enough parking lot for what Enterprise is looking for.
Okay.
It's a large building, and it does have a parking lot, but they're not interested in the large building. They just need a little office. So these are all, you know, just the little things of...
Well, that can change. Buildings go up, buildings go down.
Yeah.
And so that's interesting. Okay, so I understand that you don't want to deal with Caltrans?
No, I don't.
Well, and specifically, do you understand what she was saying, so that you guys have delved into it enough that you know you don't want to do that? They haven't just said.
Honestly, I'm not familiar with
Okay,
this site. We've
that's-
been working on this one for a year. I mean, we've
Okay.
had this in contract for a year and getting it ready to get to Planning Commission this past December. So this one is just a good fit. You had mentioned also the, you know, the car biz, although I was emphasizing the truck division, the car rental division is also important to them here, and being proximate, the car repair places and the auto body shops right across the street is important. So that is another consideration. So it's not just ag-driven. The truck division is ag-driven, but
How many trucks do you do you guys project? Because that's what it sounded like, right? You know, that was the expansion would work.
Well, ideally, it'll be an empty lot because those trucks will be in use. I mean, trucks at any one time, Matt, do you, sorry to put you on the spot, but do you have
Oh,
the
put him
number
on the
of?
spot. He's good at this.
Do you know offhand?
So I can ask another
I think
question while he's
probably
looking.
an average of 10, but, just the way the reservation
Uh-huh. How
management
often do they
works.
get returned? I mean, do they keep them for months on end, or a week or two, or? Months on end. So it could be 3 to 6 months? Oh, the harvest season.
Some of it is seasonal.
Okay, so some of it's seasonal, some of it more or less, whatever. Okay.
It might be worth adding some history to this site too. This was an RV sales lot, so this isn't the first time it's been a commercial lot. This was formerly an RV sales yard.
Yeah, I grew up here, and I drive past that, like,
Okay.
twice a day, every day, for like 30 years. So, yeah, I've seen all the changes in there. So I do appreciate it, and I'm not picking on this because I want to say no. I'm picking on it because I want to understand where you've been with it and how much we've been helpful to pointing out all the different areas of Watsonville where we may not have to have zoning changes, because, boy, we keep doing all these zoning changes rather than utilizing some of the things. So can you answer one more thing?
Yeah.
The airport, go back to it. Thank you very much, sir, I appreciate that. Can you answer one more thing about the airport? Now, the airport, what is it, safety? You want to go back to that?
Safety Zone 2?
Safety Zone 2. That will never change as long as we have the big runway, is that correct?
Crosswind. This is Crosswind.
Oh, so it's the Crosswind runway, which we've already spoken about, which may or may not have a future in Watsonville. Is that correct? If that goes away, will the airport safety zones inhibit this area in any way for building housing?
I don't believe so.
No, the rest of this area would be in Safety Zone 6, which does not have a limit on housing.
Okay, so we could go the other way and we could change that to housing versus changing one to commercial. Is that correct? If we're changing things.
Yes, theoretically.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
But in the meantime, just I would point out that
Sure.
you can't really do either thing, either use on the lot until a zoning change happens, because the residential excludes the commercial and the commercial excludes the residential. So no matter which way you were going to go, you would have to correct this error, so, yeah.
All right, my turn. Woo-hoo. When was this area annexed? Do you guys know?
2000.
2000. And if we were to close the airport runway, would this have more possibilities?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Oh, my question.
All right, any other questions from council? Okay. Would anyone from the public like to weigh on this item? Seeing none, I'm going to bring it back for a motion from council.
I'll move the staff recommendation.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call,
Do
please?
discussion or no?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say that, I definitely, support the businesses that are coming into our community. And we just need to start thinking outside of the box when, kind of building our economic development in our community. And, taking the right actions that need to happen in order to bring what the public is asking for. We're going to hear, well, why didn't you build a bowling alley on this property, right? But
We're not going to hear, we have heard.
I mean, we have heard and we will continue to hear, right? Why isn't there a roller rink? Why isn't there, so we as a city have to really change our way of approaching, how we're going to be, making it appealing for businesses to come into our community. Because we as a council member have to deal with why aren't this. The reason that we can't build a bowling alley on this property is because of the planes, the airport, right? Right. So we have to be making decisions here that will allow for future businesses to open up for what the public wants. Because right now, we're not delivering, and a lot of times we're not able to deliver because, one, of the airport plan, which prohibits us from even developing certain types of businesses. But two, I had it too. The plan, anyways, we're not able to develop the businesses that we want coming into our community because we're being prohibited somehow from doing that, right? Oh, two, because if a company meets the qualifications for a permit, we can't deny them. Like, if we cannot discriminate against a company, and we cannot tell, this is, a property owner, what can and cannot be on their properties. And I think we have a lot of education to do with our community on, what businesses are coming in, how they're coming in, and why they're coming in. Because right here, even though I do support this, I will be voting in support of it tonight, but in the future, we need to be bringing in a diverse, type of business into our community. That's gonna, that the community's asking for. They're asking for it.
Demanding. I would say.
Demanding. Yeah, they're demanding. Just read the comments on Facebook, like on the posts. There's hundreds of them, hundreds. Thank you.
Councilmember Salcido?
I do have one question for staff, and it is, if the Crosswind runway is closed and we do permit this enterprise company to come in, can we have subsequent discussions around the other lots about housing? Because these are very important priorities, and we don't want hodgepodge zoning. That is the entire point of zoning. So how do we deal with this if the Crosswind runway is closed, and then perhaps we could have housing, or can you answer my long question?
Absolutely, and we're going to be diving into a lot of this in our special council meeting in February, to talk about the pros and cons, what could be, what can't be, with the general plan update. So right now, we are very, very zoned in, to use the zoning term, on this part of the city in trying to figure out, with the Crosswind runway either shortened or the Crosswind runway removed, what that opens up, what the development potential is on both the residential, commercial, mixed use, all of that. So we will be able to really dive into a discussion, a meaningful
Great. So that doesn't preclude us, saying yes to this one business coming in doesn't preclude us from subsequent conversations around either additional businesses or housing in the exact same area?
Yes.
Thank you.
I would point out, too, that in the housing element, we have also included an additional section in Appendix F that addresses commercial properties that could eventually have either mixed use or other kind of development on them, subject to AB 2011 or some of the other new state laws. So that is a portion of the housing element that, if you'd like to peruse, that we have a list of properties there that could additionally accommodate units that we didn't even count towards our RENA this time. We just pointed out that we acknowledge that there's some opportunity there. And then in the general plan update effort, they'll be exploring, what else we can do with those commercial zones, knowing that there is such a demand for residential. So.
Councilmember Parker?
Well, as you heard, we had many people from District 7 today, so I want to do my due diligence and ask the questions. And you bring up a good point, Councilwoman Salcido. So you're looking at it for our general plan update. So how many others, if the Safety Zone 2 didn't exist, because the Crosswind runway was no longer active, how many other areas in this area, in that Freedom area, would be available for housing?
I can't bring up the map tonight to show you.
No, I just want you to, talk about it.
Many.
And that would mean more than 5?
Yes.
Areas as large as this one?
Well, these safety zones span Freedom Boulevard, from Monument Lumber to, let's see, this is the edge right here, as you can see, of Zone 4. So that is the edge of probably the most restrictive zone. You would want to be in zone, wait, hold on, this is 2, then 4. So 4 is going to go all the way out to Kmart, Green Valley, the vacant parcel on Green Valley next to the Taco Bell, all of that area, and then swinging back around to kind of the Roach Road vicinity. So we're talking hundreds of parcels, perhaps. Yeah.
Well, that's a good general but specific statement. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mayor, if I may, one of the things that you're going to get is, we've heard the strategic direction of this council, economic development, housing. And one of the things you're going to get is you're going to get the alternatives and options, and we're going to be as proactive as we possibly can be, which might be looking at the general plan, looking at zoning designations and all of that. So part of what's going to come before you in the conversation, the next conversation is on February 10th to go over those sorts of options that we have throughout the city. And we're going to be asking for some direction, some decisions, because we have an opportunity to, based on the direction from this council, to move the economic development discussion and the actual economic implementation of the communities and what this council has prioritized. We're going to move it forward. So we're going to be bringing all of that to you. There's going to be ample opportunity for you to weigh in on economic development, some of the opportunities that we see, some of the things that we need to do to get there, that we're probably going to be pretty bullish about bringing them before you, and the same thing on the housing side. So that's going to start. I mean, we've been doing a lot of work on that, and so all that's coming. It's all forming. So February 10th, you're going to have a special session you're going to have on the general plan. The second meeting in February, you're getting the economic development plan suggestion and some of the other things that we need to do around that are going to be presented to you with recommendations. There's going to be discussions about funding and all of that. That's all coming to you. A lot of that's coming to you in February. So I just wanted to frame that from the economic development perspective.
I just want you to know my questions really stem, especially our developers, the people, the client. My questions really stem from us as a council not understanding the bigger picture and then making a decision to change zoning where we move and then we come back to regret that. We do, and I support Councilman Dutra's comment about, we support business. We want economic development in the city. So that's not what we're looking at. We just want to be able to make sure we match those goals with our housing goals for people as well. And a bowling alley and whatever it may be. Yeah, I understand. So that's where the questions lie. So maybe we should start interning in CDE and learn it. I'm just saying it's really coming down to really that being the most important part of what we need to know. Thanks.
All right, any last comments on this item? Personally, I just want to say that I'm excited. I think this will be a good fit. That's on one of my run routes, and I'm excited because I think it's just a really good fit from where the existing business is now, and I'm excited for the sidewalk, the landscaping, and I think that there is another route that trucks could take so that they're not on the main road. There's a little side road that I often see trucks on. So I think this is exciting, and I am in support of it. And with that, if we can have a roll call, please.
Mayor, I'm just going to clarify that the motion was made by Councilmember Montesino, seconded by Councilmember Dutra, to, 1, take action on a resolution approving the 30th Amendment to the Watsonville 2005 General Plan to designate the entire APN 014-032-17 located at 1926 Freedom Boulevard to general commercial. And by motion, introduced for first reading by title only, waiving the full reading of the text, an uncodified ordinance amending the zoning map to designate the entire parcel at 1926 Freedom Boulevard, thoroughfare commercial, and directing changes to be made on the zoning map. I'll take roll now. Clark?
Aye.
Dutra?
Aye.
Montesino?
Aye.
Orozco,
Aye.
Parker,
Yes.
Salcido,
Aye.
and Quiroz Carter.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously.
All right, so we are at item 12. We don't have any emergency items added to the agenda. So item 13, requests and scheduling future agenda items. 13A, consideration of scheduling future agenda items submitted by city council members at previous meetings.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, council members, there are two items before you today. 13A, number 4 is request to bring back a discussion on campers located near or around schools. And the other one, so we can take, and then the motion regarding the city's policy on bicycle lanes and streets. Those were both brought forward for Councilor Montesino. So at this point, I am suggesting when we will bring them back.
Mismatch, but, you know, I want to talk to about both item number 4. It's about the concerns of, you know, campers around the schools, but it also is going to be, you know, just around our city. You know, cities around our community, Santa Cruz and the county are putting, you know, camper rules. So the pressure is going to be on us because they're going to, you know, if we don't create a policy or we're going to be dealing with them because there's going to be, you know, they're going to push south. And we're going to end up, you know, with a worse problem. We currently have a small problem. Now, you know, and that's going to be, so we just have to prioritize, you know, this issue coming to, you know, to our community, because I just want to have us be ready. Because they're pushing, and other cities are pushing, so it's going to end up on our lap, and I just want to be prepared.
Quick question for you.
Yeah.
When you say campers, do you mean like RVs, or are we talking about
RVs,
people pitching a
campers,
tent
yeah,
on a
yeah.
sidewalk?
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm, yeah.
Or both?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And you're not limiting just your schools?
No,
You're talking
no,
about
I'm talking
parked
about,
all over
yeah.
the city?
Mhm.
Okay. And people living in them
Yes.
versus,
And loitering. I mean, it's sometimes, you know, so like I said, I don't know what the other cities are doing, or they're doing it right or doing it wrong, but we need to just, you know, bring you know, in the next council meeting, because I think there's already, you know, a lot of efforts putting into, you know, other communities, so we can, you know, delve in that, you know, those policies a good fit for us or not? But like I said, I would like to have the discussion for the next meeting so we can, you know, talk about it and see. Like I said, I just want to be us prepared. I don't want to end up with all this issue, and how do we deal with it?
So just to clarify, Councilmember Montesino, it sounds like you would like to discuss an oversized vehicle ordinance. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Yes, Councilmember Parker?
so clarifying, because I brought this up, Renee, to you as well, because of the ordinance in Santa Cruz, that
Right, that's
they're definitely starting to enforce. And we've already seen an increase in the parking in the city streets of Watsonville. So, and especially definitely around schools, because that's, yeah. But not only that, but would this mean a change of ordinance, or would this mean a creation of a new ordinance?
I think it's the creation of a new one, but we want to have that conversation with you. That's why I included the Santa Cruz, or it's been adopted in Santa Cruz since this was requested. So to me, it's very relevant to the discussion.
So I'd like to make a motion to place this on the next agenda.
I'll second, and I will, maybe if this can be part of the conversation, because I also have brought this up to you, Renee, but it was more in regards around businesses, and specifically on Payne Lane and the issues that we're having there. I brought up the idea of possibly doing no overnight parking signage in certain locations, strategically speaking, which has been done in other areas in the city, and it seemed to have worked. So if that can also be part of the conversation,
Yeah.
that would be great.
We'll bring back a full conversation. I've had the chief has been out there surveying, what do we have, where do we have? They've been working with Public Works on locations and signage and all of that, so all that'll be part of the conversation.
Great, thank you so much.
All right, so I think I'm going to ask for any public input. Seeing no public, we had a motion for item 13A, number 4. Can we get a roll call on that? Or do we need a motion for the next item?
Well, I want to take the motion on item 4 first.
Okay.
Clark?
Aye.
Dutra?
Aye.
Montesino?
Yes.
Orozco?
Aye.
Parker?
Yes.
Salcido?
Aye.
And Quiroz Carter.
Aye.
The motion carries.
All right, and then we have motion scheduling agenda item regarding the city's policy on bicycle lanes on streets. Councilmember Montesino?
Yes, and I want to talk about this because, just think about Freedom Boulevard. No bicyclists, we just redid it, and there's no bicycle lanes. We go to my area, there's a bicycle lane with, so we have a little mismatch. Like, what are we doing? We need to just corral it if this is a priority, and which it seems that it is in our community. But we go, in some places it is, in some places it isn't. So what is it? We just need to have that conversation. Because, in the outer community, in the county, they have a bicycle advisory, and they're like, oh, gun ho, and they come present to us from the RTC and even in the council, but it's all superficial. I always told them it's superficial, because whenever funding comes around, oh, no, in the Watsonville, it's always in North County. As you see in the counties and the cities, they have, more bike lanes accessibility, which we don't. And we're trying to push people, towards bikeability and walkability, and we're not doing our part. So we just, have to have a policy and a better strategy to be able to, and not only have a procedure with where are we going after, what's the process, and to be a better advocates for ourselves if we go that route. So we're all on the same page, and we can all advocate for these fundings or grants opportunities in our community, because we're not doing it. So I'd like to make a motion.
I'll second.
And bring it back, second meeting in February.
I'm suggesting March 12th. We have
Okay,
a lot of
that's
stuff
fine.
in February.
That's
so-
fine, yeah.
Councilman Parker?
I have some questions on that, and maybe you can answer it too. So we have bike lanes that we've slowly been putting in across the city, right? Freedom Boulevard has undergone a tremendous upset for all the businesses there as well, and it's really busy. I mean, it's really busy. So so I guess I want to know, are you looking for a study to be done by staff talking about the consistency of our bike policy versus we're making a decision next time on whether we're going to put bike lanes on
Yeah,
Freedom
no,
Boulevard?
What your first statement is,
Okay.
just a policy
Okay.
to look at what.
A consistent plan across the city.
Plan around our
Okay,
community.
I'm in support of that, and I think that would be a good study. I'm not necessarily in support
No, like I said,
of
I'm not.
moving that fast in that area at this time, but that answers my question.
Yeah, because like I said, for what I see, it's like we just have a mishmash everywhere. If we're gonna do it in one area,
Well,
where
it
are we?
appears to us, staff may have staff may have a different perspective because they have it, but we did, like I said, we need to start interning in CDD, and then we'll have all this insight, But that I would support.
Yeah, so this would be more of a public works with complete streets and all the work that's going on there. So we will bring it back if that's what you direct.
So can I get a second?
Yeah, I did a second.
I believe we have a second, so I think,
Oh, we did?
yeah.
Second by me.
So I think we need a roll call, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, public comment. Do we have anyone from the public who'd like to comment on this item? Seeing none, I will bring it back for roll call.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Clark?
Aye.
Dutra?
Aye.
Montesino?
Yes.
Orozco?
Aye.
Parker?
Yes.
Salcido?
Aye.
Quiroz Carter?
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously.
All right, and with that, we're moving on to item 13B, requests for future agenda items. Do we have any requests? Yes, Councilmember Salcido?
I believe that the public, as described today, needs an answer in terms of the ceasefire resolution, and I will be using the agenda process now to discuss this. This is the process in which we all agreed. I'm citing directly from 2A, which states any discussion is limited to a determination of whether or not this is going to be placed on an upcoming agenda, and 3 council members must concur in order for it to be placed on an agenda. I am placing for our consideration to agendize a ceasefire resolution. I am voting no on what I am agendizing, as I can and as I have conferred with the city attorney. So I am voting to agendize a ceasefire, and I am voting no, and I am asking for a roll call, or I don't know if I need a second. If the city attorney could answer that, please.
So I think your motion is to agendize at an upcoming meeting a discussion of a ceasefire resolution.
Correct, and I am voting no on it.
We haven't taken the vote yet. You'll have an opportunity to vote when we take the vote. And so I think you're also asking that a vote be taken to see if there are 3 council members who concur with that request. Do I have that right?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question.
Explain that.
What happens to
Say
this,
that again.
what would happen to this special meeting then if that?
No, how about we just do that again? Let's talk about her motion.
Yeah,
first.
I'll answer those questions in the reverse order in which they were received. For the special meeting, the mayor has directed a special meeting. That direction still stands regardless of what happens with this vote. The mayor has the authority per the charter to direct a special meeting, and she has done that.
Okay, so explain again, because I know
There are two
Councilman
s-
Sacido voted no, but we're not in the voting process yet. So explain it from the motion she just made.
Sure. They're two separate, you can think of it as two separate processes. One is the mayor has.
No, I get the mayor, I totally get the mayor.
Okay, so you're just asking
I'm
about
just asking
the
about how
agenda setting
this will
procedure?
play out. Yes, yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
So your agenda setting procedure is outlined in your protocols, Part 2A. And that protocol allows for a council member at a meeting, at a notice meeting, to say that you would like something to be placed on a future agenda. And then it allows in that meeting for 3 council members to concur. And if 3 council members concur, the item will be placed on an upcoming meeting for discussion.
And any vote thereon will take place in that meeting.
No, in this meeting.
Okay, so step it back again, because that's where I lost you. The 3 council members agree.
4.
No, 3 council members
Yes.
agree to set it on an agenda.
Yes,
Okay, and then we have a vote right now
yes.
to
About
set
what-
it on the agenda.
Correct. Well, those two are the same thing. The agreement and the
Okay,
vote
I'm
are the
trying to
same.
figure out what the majority vote comes, where that comes in, and what does that say?
Whether or not to put it on a future agenda.
Am I the only one confused? I mean, I think there's clarity in this. I'm just confused by it, and I just want, if I'm confused, I figure the public's confused. Yeah.
If it's not agendized, then what's the point of a special meeting if it's never going to be agendized?
They're two separate processes. The mayor can call a special meeting for whatever, presumably whatever topic the mayor would like. What you are discussing, the motion that Councilmember Salcido has made, pertains to how items get on the agenda for regularly scheduled meetings.
So hypothetically, I know we haven't gotten to vote yet. Is there anything else that needs to happen before we vote? Do I need a second or no?
No.
Okay. So if all 6 of us hypothetically vote no on this, then this does not get agendized on a future meeting?
On a future regular meeting.
Thanks.
The mayor, again, can call a special meeting.
And I understand there's
Yeah.
nothing that
Yes.
changes her process. Right.
Correct.
Okay?
I can't.
I got it.
Can we pause for just a second?
Okay.
Yes, we're going to take a 5-minute recess.
Yes.
Okay, so special.
Oh, yeah.
They're separate.
Yeah, they're separate. They're separate. Two separate things.
Yeah. Yeah, I was getting confused
Took a
there.
little while, but.
I get it.
Yeah, it's a procedural.
All right, so we had a motion on the floor. And before we take roll call for that motion, I just wanted to make a comment that I was actually going to ask this to be brought back on the February meeting, and that if it was brought back, that I would withdraw my request for the special meeting. I just want to say quickly that regardless of your stance on the issue, I think it's important for us to agendize items that the public asks for. And I think it's important as elected officials to take a stance when the public is asking us to take a stance. And that is what I'm trying to do here, is go through the process. So I really am very offended by the insinuations that I did not follow process, because I have followed process and I will continue to follow process. And with that, may we have a roll call, please?
Mayor, I just want to clarify after having a brief discussion with our city attorney that, one, there's only a request by Council Member Salcido. It hasn't been seconded. This is not a motion that we agendize, so I'm just going to take a poll of the council members to see where we're at. If the majority of the council believes that we should have said item on the agenda, that's enough to have Renee be able to put it on the 13th. So again, this is just a poll to give Renee some information so that he can be authorized to schedule that item.
That is correct, and I apologize for referring to it as a motion before the city clerk is correct.
Clark?
We're just taking a straw poll to see.
Nay means what? Nay means what?
Yay means it goes on the February 13th agenda. Nay means it does not. Thank you.
Okay. Clark?
Nay.
Dutra?
Nay.
Montesino?
No.
Orozco?
No.
Parker?
No.
Salcido?
No.
Quiroz Carter?
Aye.
The motion fails. No, I'm sorry, we don't have enough
It's
interest.
not placed on the agenda.
All right, in that case, I assume that I will continue to work with the city clerk on dates for the special meeting. All right, with that, I'm going to call adjournment.
No, whoa. Request, the 13B.
I thought we did request.
You did
Oh,
hers.
I'm sorry, can I take back?
Yeah, that's.
One more.
That's what
We
the
got caught
mayor
up.
game called. Oops. Let's go back.
All right, let's, any other requests for future items?
Yes, I just sent an email, not too long about bringing the PLA issue back. We gotta resolve it. You resolve it soon. So, since we're only meeting one meeting this month, I request that we have a special meeting just to bring it back and just get it resolved, because it's, it's a detriment to our community either way that it's going to go. We need projects, and we need it done. We need to bid on them, and, and I think we gave enough process, procedures. We've been doing this for months between both parties, and like I said, that's where I'm at.
I second, if it needs one.
All right, any other items?
Oh.
Requests for items?
I was getting, no, but I was just going to ask a question about it. I don't think so, because it's fine. It's going to go in the.
No, but I'm asking for a special meeting. so
Oh,
I'm
you're
afraid-
asking for a special meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree to that. Okay, so now we've
So in terms
perplexed
of
them.
process for a special meeting, because you're no longer the mayor, I would assume that you would need 3 written requests.
And we'll send them in.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
But I have a question based on that, is that, can we also agendize it in closed session as well? For a discussion regarding maybe unions and our discussion? So some of it can happen in open session, some of it may not be able to happen in open session?
So we can't discuss just unions in general in closed session.
Well, yeah.
But I'll work with
The implications of, yeah.
I'll work with the city manager to see if there's cause under the Brown Act to hold a closed session.
Okay.
Regarding potential litigation or anything that might be permissible under the Brown Act.
Well, potential litigation would cover it for a further discussion, for sure.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, any other items, requests for future items?
Current date.
All right, so with that, we are adjourned.